I want to talk about iOS 12 running on the iPad. So iOS 12 should be out for all of the following iPad devices. Make sure that you're on the compatible list. And if you're not, unfortunately, you're not going to be getting iOS 12. But if you are on this list, then you do have iOS 12. So let's dive in and take a look at all the new features on iOS 12 for the iPad. This particular iPad is the iPad Pro 10.5, but all these features also apply to all the other iOS 12 iPads. So let's dive right in. Now the very first thing I want to talk about is the interface. They did make a modification to the interface. So basically when you swipe up from the bottom, it does bring up the multitasking pane just like that. That's going to be just like the actual iPhone. And in the past, when you pull it up like this, you would have a control center on the side here as well. But now, when you swipe up and just let it go, it's going to be right there, the multitasking pane. And of course, if you want to get rid of an application that's running here, you just swipe it up and it's gone. Now, if you want to access the control center, you simply have to swipe down from the top. So if you do it from the right side over here, it's going to bring down the control center. If you do it from the left side, it's going to bring down the actual notifications panel. And of course, even if you do it from here in the middle, that's going to be notifications panel. And even when you do it from here, it's going to be notifications panel. So what you have to do is make sure that you're on the side over here where you have the status icons on the top right. So when you do that, it brings down the control center. I am actually happy with this update because now it looks and acts like the iPhone, so both systems are now more consistent with each other. The next thing I want to talk about is the grouped notifications. So again, if you pull down the notifications panel, you're going to see that notifications are now grouped together per app, which is absolutely fantastic. So over here, you have all the notifications from the actual news application, from the YouTube application, again from the news applications that was a couple hours ago, and so on and so forth. So it does try to group notifications within the last hour into one block. So if it's before that hour, it's going to group it separately so things don't get confusing. Now, what if you want to expand notifications for a given block? So here's the news notifications that I have received just recently. What I want to do is I want to tap on it. It's going to expand that block, and that's going to show me all the notifications. I can tap on show less, or what I can do is if I tap this again, I can tap on X, and it's going to kill that particular block of notifications. If I were to click this X, it's going to clear all the notifications. So let me tap on this one more time. And I'm going to show you one more thing. What you can do is you can swipe over and you can actually manage individual notifications one by one. So I can clear one notification or the second notification, or like I said, I can clear all notifications. There we go. Now, what if you want to manage the entire block all by itself? You can also do this. You can swipe to the side and that brings the same exact menu. You can tap in view and it's going to expand it into this view, which is even better. And if you swipe it over like this, you can tap on clear all, and that clears that same notification block, just like if you tap on this and click on this X, same exact thing. And finally, what you can do is you can manage notifications. So if I swipe over, I can tap on manage, brings up a menu. So I can say the iPad to deliver these notifications to me very quietly. So don't make any noise, just quietly deliver them to me. And that's going to be based on whether or not that particular app is important to me or not. And of course, the other option that I have is I can just tap on turn off, and it's going to turn off notifications for that particular app. And finally, I can tap on settings, and it's going to take me to the actual detailed settings for managing notifications right over here, something that's been on the previous iPads as well. And move on to the next thing. The next thing that they have achieved is to allow you to create Siri shortcuts. So if you go to the settings, and if you go into the Siri, on the top you're going to see all shortcuts. If you tap on all shortcuts, now what you can do is you can actually create custom Siri commands, voice commands for Siri to do certain things. So just to give you an example, here's my, this one says inbox Saki text. So if I say a certain command that I can pre-record, it's going to actually launch this inbox, or you can launch this one right over here. So let's click on plus over here, and they want you to add the inbox Saki Tech to Siri. So let me do that right now. Saki Tech inbox. Recording is complete. I'm going to click done, and let me try that. So Saki Tech Inbox. That's absolutely fantastic, all right? So you can create custom Siri shortcuts right under this actual menu. And of course, once you create shortcuts, you can access your shortcuts from My Shortcuts tab. This is a brand new tab that just gets created, a brand new row. And then you can go back here and you can even add more. And again, you can search certain Siri commands yourself to add even more commands. All right, so that's fantastic that we have these new shortcuts, especially if you use Siri all the time. All right, so let's move on to the next update. So if you go to the settings this time, what they did was they added something known as the screen time feature. The screen time allows you to manage how you use your iPad and also set limits on how much you use your iPad. So let me set this up really quick. Let's click continue. Let's just say this is my iPad, and then I'm going to turn on the screen time, and then you have a bunch of options here. Now the first one is on the top here right away. It shows you that I've been using the settings ever since I turned on screen time. It says I've been using settings for 2 seconds, so it updates periodically. So if I go back here, it's going to update in a little bit. So I've been using the settings for 18 seconds. With the same way, it's going to show me how long I use games, how long I use other media apps, perhaps watching movies or listening to music, and it's going to give me the details on how much I use my iPad and for what. And of course, if you tap this over here, it gives you even more details, a much bigger breakdown. You can also go to last 7 days, and this is going to keep growing as you keep playing with your iPad. And of course, they have given you these 4 settings. You have the downtime, which allows you to set downtime so you don't use a certain app groups as often, such as games. So if I enable this guy, I'm able to start a downtime from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So we set the downtime here, we go back over here, and what we can do is we can also go to the app limits. So from here I can add a limit per app. So if I tap on add limit, I can say limit me playing the game. So games, click add, and then basically I just want to play 1 hour a day as far as games are concerned, or 2 hours a day, and that's going to be the new limit for daily iPad usage. Okay, if you want to delete it, you can just tap on this one, but once you add it, it's going to show up right here. You can go right back inside, delete it, or edit it if you want. So that's for the app limits for the certain app categories. And then you can also choose always allowed. So these are the apps that are always allowed even when you set downtime. So downtime has been enabled over here from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And over here, all those apps that I don't want access to are going to be at the bottom here. Okay, so these are the apps I don't want to use. These are the apps that I'm allowed to use even in my downtime because they're important apps. And then you have a couple other settings over here, but the big thing here is the fact that you have access to this screen time menu that is going to allow you to manage your iPad, and also you can manage the iPad of your kids or anybody else that's under your family. All right. Now, because the downtime is active right now, as you can see, the apps that I don't want to use, these apps are actually not allowing me to run them. So it makes me aware of what's going on. I can always ignore the limit though. Okay, so again, take a look at this. All the apps I haven't chosen to be allowed are blacked out. Let's go back out and move on to the next thing. The news application. So the news application has been revamped. So basically what you have here is on the old news application, you had a bunch of bars at the bottom here. So you had like 5 bars in one row. Now you have a sidebar, and this sidebar is much more easy to use. So everything that you're following shows up right over here. Okay, so as you can see, all my news channels that I'm following are right here. And if I scroll down, I have the saved stories, the history of what I've read, and also I can personalize my news topics, and I can even manage notifications for the actual news application. So if I don't want to receive notifications from the news top stories, I can just disable that, and now I'm not going to get any kind of notifications up here from that particular category. All right, and of course on the top here I can search directly the channels, topics, and stories that I'm interested in. So if I type in Chris over here, it's going to bring all the relevant people that I follow. All right, so cancel that, get out of here. Let's move on to the next application that they have updated. which is actually the stocks application, which looks fantastic. So if you are a stock guy, as you know, the old app fully sucked. Now we have a nice two-tier application. And if I go to Apple, for example, the Apple stock, not only do I get a nice, beautiful bar, I also get all the relevant news that pertains to the actual Apple market. So I can actually read relevant stock news. So they're not going to be random news. They're going to pertain to actual investments because this is in fact a stock application. Other things you can do here is you can also change this to 1 day. So as you can see, for example, the Apple stock fell a little bit in the last day. In the last week, it went up a little bit. You can even put your finger here and you can see the exact amount, or even pick a range and see what was the growth between that given range, and you'll see the date, time, to and from on the top over here. Okay, so that's also very great. So the same applies to any stock you tap. If you tap on the Fitbit stock, it's going down, and then you can say, for example, Fitbit shares plunge after Apple Watch is unveiled. So that's a relevant story for Fitbit. Okay, so you're going to see all these nice things over here. Fantastic. The next thing they have actually added to the iPad is the voice memo feature app. So if I launch this over here, it's going to come with your iPad. So it's been redesigned. It's got full iCloud support. So if you have an iPhone, you record a voice memo, it's going to show up right here. Or if you record a voice memo here, it's going to show up on your iPhone via iCloud or any other device that has iCloud enabled. As you can see, more devices. So if I continue, it's a nice little interface. I can tap on record. And as you can see, it's picking the sound waves over here. I can pause. I can click done, and it's going to save that over here. I can click edit, and I can actually create categories and also delete stuff from here if I so desire. Delete, gone. Alrighty? So that's a new revamped voice memos with iCloud support. Let's go back out. Couple other things. If you go to the control center, you'll see that there's a do not disturb button here. If you tap on it, you'll see that now they have added these extra settings that allow you to turn on do not disturb for 1 hour until tomorrow morning, or until I leave this location. So they know that I'm in the house. So if I leave my home, I want it to disable do not disturb. Do not disturb is going to disable all the notifications except the ones I allow. All right. You can also tap on schedule, and that goes into the actual setting, and from here you can schedule the do not disturb timeline. And what else we have is we have faster performance on the iPad. So everything's going to actually feel faster. If you have an iPad Pro or any iPad with iOS 11, and if you have the chance to compare it to the iOS 12 version, you'll notice that the apps, the settings, everything is going to launch faster with iOS 12. So you're going to get a little speed boost and performance boost in everything that you do on your iPad, even typing on your keyboard. And of course, a couple other things I'm not going to be able to show you guys, things like group FaceTime. So if you do use FaceTime, now instead of just talking to one person on the other end, you can have grouped notifications with, grouped FaceTime with multiple people. So you can have, just an example, you can have your father, your brother, your wife, and yourself on 4 different iPads and have a full foursome, 4-way conversation. But that's basically everything that's noteworthy on the iPad. Those are the iOS 12 updates for your iPad. And again, check that image that I showed you in the beginning of the video to see if your iPad is compatible to receive iOS 12 update.